Welcome to the Deep Dive. I am so glad you're joining us today because we're looking at a really fundamental shift in how we interact with the physical world around us.
Yeah, it is a massive shift, and I'm really excited to get into it.
Have you ever noticed how quickly an everyday convenience,
hmm
something designed to just seamlessly integrate into your routine, can turn into an entirely unexpected vulnerability?
Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time.
Right. One minute you're adopting a new piece of technology to make your life just a little bit easier or maybe just to look a little bit more stylish.
Exactly.
And then the next minute you realize the architecture of that technology operates in a way that completely contradicts your assumptions.
It's totally jarring when that happens.
It really is. And today, we have a single incredibly compelling piece of source material to guide us through this exact phenomena. It's an excerpted conversation between two individuals, Alex and Sarah, and it's titled The Human Eye Behind the Lens.
And, it is a relatively brief conversation on paper, but the implications are just massive. It really captures a specific moment of realization about wearable technology. And I suspect a really large portion of the consumer base is going to be grappling with this exact same realization very soon.
Because ambient computing is just becoming so mainstream now.
Exactly. It's everywhere.
And that is our mission for today's deep dive. We're going to unpack the hidden realities of AI wearable technology.
Which is so needed right now.
We want to explore this massive, often completely invisible gap between what we assume artificial intelligence is like, how we picture it functioning securely in the background of our daily lives.
Right.
And the very human, very manual reality of how it actually operates behind the scenes. We're going to examine how our baseline assumptions about privacy are being actively bypassed by the hardware we are voluntarily putting on our own bodies.
Voluntarily being the key word there.
Okay, let's unpack this.
To start, the conversation between Alex and Sarah begins with a perfectly ordinary, highly relatable scenario.
So normal.
Right. Alex brings up a recent interaction they had, mentioning that he walked in the previous week wearing a brand new pair of Ray-Ban Metas.
Which sets the stage perfectly.
Yeah.
Because Alex openly admits his primary motivation in that moment.
Yeah, he's very honest about it.
He specifically tells Sarah he was feeling like he was looking all Top Gun.
Which is such a great detail.
It is. And honestly, I completely get Alex's mindset here. I mean, when you put on a classic pair of aviator frames, you aren't thinking about data extraction or surveillance networks.
Not at all.
You're experiencing a very specific, culturally ingrained aesthetic. It's about confidence, freedom, style. The consumer appeal is entirely rooted in the fashion.
But Sarah's reaction shatters that illusion immediately.
Completely.
She doesn't see the Top Gun aesthetic. She reminds him of her visceral response from that day, which was demanding he take the glasses off right then and there.
Right then and there.
And her reasoning cuts straight through the marketing. She tells him she didn't want to end up on a server somewhere.
I mean, that is such a fascinating pivot because it highlights two completely different frameworks for looking at the exact same object.
Exactly.
You have Alex, who is interacting with this highly advanced piece of recording hardware as if it were just a traditional fashion accessory.
Just a cool pair of sunglasses.
Right. And then you have Sarah, who instantly maps the device to its actual function, a network-connected camera and microphone suite.
It perfectly illustrates the psychology of form factor in modern hardware design.
How so?
Well, wearable surveillance is being successfully marketed to consumers because the technology is engineered to camouflage itself within legacy fashion.
Legacy fashion. I like that phrase.
Yeah, think about it. If you were to strap a standard security camera or some big bulky VR headset to your face and walk into a room, the social contract would immediately change.
People be staring at you.
Everyone around you, including yourself, would have their guard up. The instinctual threat detection just kicks in automatically, but because the camera array is hidden inside the frame of an iconic, historically stylish pair of sunglasses.
That alarm system is entirely bypassed.
Entirely. The familiar form completely obscures the novel function.
Yeah, that camouflage works incredibly well on the wearer, too.
It really does.
Alex admits in their conversation that he initially thought Sarah was just being paranoid.
He says exactly that. Paranoid.
He completely dismissed her concerns in the moment. And for anyone listening right now, I want you to consider that dynamic.
It's a really important dynamic.
Think about how easily the sleek, familiar design of the devices we interact with every day tricks our brains into dropping our guard.
We just stop seeing them as tech.
It is so easy to wave away someone's privacy concerns just because the device looks cool, or because it integrates seamlessly into an outfit, or simply because it's made by a brand we already trust.
Yeah, we want the convenience and we definitely enjoy the aesthetic.
We do.
So we subconsciously minimize the structural reality of the device.
It's much easier to convince ourselves that the person raising the red flag is just being a little too anxious than it is to grapple with the privacy implications of our own purchasing decisions.
Nobody wants to admit they bought a surveillance device.
Right. But the conversation between them shifts dramatically when Alex realizes that Sarah's caution wasn't paranoia at all.
Not even a little bit.
In fact, he actually concedes the point, telling her, turns out you weren't paranoid enough.
Which is quite a statement.
It really is. And the catalyst for this realization is a specific piece of news they discuss regarding the tech industry's operations in Kenya.
Yes, they bring up what is referred to as the Sama report.
The Sama report.
And Sarah's reaction to the details of this report is unambiguous. She categorizes the findings as absolutely nightmare fuel.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
It does.
Sarah forces Alex to look past the hardware and examine the software side of the equation.
The invisible side.
Exactly. She tells him, we aren't talking about algorithms analyzing your data, Alex. We are talking about human beings.
Human beings.
And that single distinction completely dismantles the illusion Alex was operating under.
It is a profound paradigm shift for the user. I mean, Alex responds by admitting that this specific detail is the part that really gets to him.
It gets to all of us.
He articulates what is arguably the most pervasive misconception about artificial intelligence today. He points out that when most people hear the phrase AI training, their minds immediately conjure up a very specific, highly sanitized image.
Right. The classic supercomputer in a basement image.
Exactly.
He notes that people imagine a giant, sterile server rack, just crunching numbers and running complex algorithms in the dark.
Nobody around, just machines.
We've been conditioned to view algorithmic processing as a closed-loop system. It feels detached, mathematical, and most importantly, impersonal.
And that impersonal nature is exactly why consumers are generally comfortable with it.
Sure.
If a machine is parsing your data to optimize an algorithm, it doesn't trigger the same psychological tripwires as traditional surveillance.
Because a machine doesn't have curiosity.
Right. It doesn't judge. It doesn't gossip.
But the reality revealed in the conversation completely shatters that sanitized view.
It shatters it completely.
The training process for this AI, the mechanism required to make the smart features actually work, isn't just an automated operation happening inside a silicon chip.
It is heavily reliant on human-in-the-loop data annotation.
And the specific example Alex uses from the report is just jarring.
It really brings it home.
He points out that users wearing these glasses do not imagine a guy named David in Nairobi watching a video of them using the bathroom.
What's fascinating here is how effectively that single sentence strips away the abstraction of the cloud.
It really does. The cloud sounds so soft and fluffy.
Right, but we move instantly from this theoretical concept of machine learning algorithms to the undeniable physical reality of a human being named David sitting at a desk in Nairobi.
A real person.
And the tasks these human annotators are performing involve watching the most vulnerable private moments imaginable.
The conversation forces us to replace the comforting concept of a closed computing system with the highly uncomfortable reality of digital voyeurism masked as data processing.
It fundamentally changes the relationship you have with the device.
Because the data isn't just binary code anymore. It's a literal window into your life.
And there is a human workforce actively looking through it.
The stakes discussed in the source material are incredibly high. And Sarah confirms exactly what these human contractors are being exposed to based on the reports.
It's not just harmless everyday stuff.
No. She states that they have viewed nudity, sex acts, and even sensitive financial information like debit card numbers.
It's staggering.
Nudity, sex acts, and debit card numbers. We are talking about the absolute core pillars of physical and financial privacy.
The most sensitive data you can imagine.
The kind of data that, if mishandled, has devastating real-world consequences. And this feed of intimate reality is passing right in front of the eyes of human contractors across the globe.
It's a massive vulnerability.
But from a purely operational standpoint, how does a user even get to that point?
That's the real question.
Right. Why are these smart glasses capturing and transmitting these deeply private scenarios in the first place?
That is the most critical mechanical question, and Sarah explains exactly how this exposure happens.
Break it down for us.
Well, it isn't a malicious hack.
Right.
It comes down to a fundamental vulnerability in user behavior and hardware design.
It's a user error.
Exactly. She lays out the sequence of events. You put the glasses on, you turn on live AI to ask a question, and you forget to turn it off.
It's an incredibly mundane point of failure. You just forget.
We all forget things constantly.
A user activates this live AI feature because they need practical utility. Maybe they want the AI to identify a landmark they're looking at or translate a menu in real time.
Something useful in the moment.
Once the AI provides the answer, the interaction is effectively over in the user's mind.
Right. The task is complete.
But the hardware is still running, the camera's still recording, and the feed is still active.
This points to a massive friction point in the user experience of ambient, always-on technology.
How so?
The system's architecture relies almost entirely on the user's active memory to safeguard their own privacy.
Wow, yes.
The user has to consciously intervene to sever the connection.
But human memory, especially when multitasking in the real world, is notoriously fallible.
Notoriously.
Exactly, because, go back to the form factor, it just feels like you're wearing your normal sunglasses.
There's no glowing red recording light right in your eye.
The cognitive friction required to constantly remind yourself I am currently broadcasting my field of vision is just too high to sustain.
You'd go crazy trying to remember that all day.
You get your translation, your brain moves on, and you go about your day. You walk into your house, you sort through your mail with your debit card in hand, you go into the bathroom, and the entire time, you have left the digital front door completely wide open.
This raises an important question.
Tell me.
I want you to consider your own daily interactions with ambient computing. Think about the devices you likely already own. The smart speakers sitting in your kitchen, the camera integrated into your laptop bezel, or the phone in your pocket.
Right. They're everywhere.
How often do you completely forget the latent recording capabilities of those devices simply because they fade into the background of your environment?
All the time. Honestly, all the time.
Now, take that habituation and apply it to a device physically mounted to your face that goes wherever your eyes go.
It's a completely different scale.
The potential for a catastrophic privacy leak isn't a hypothetical edge case.
Not at all.
According to the text, it is an active, ongoing reality driven by basic human forgetfulness.
So you have this perfect storm of factors.
A perfect storm.
You have a sleek device designed to hide its true function. You have a vast human workforce required to manually review the footage to train the AI. And you have a user base that naturally forgets they are transmitting.
It's a recipe for disaster.
When confronted with this exact scenario, how does the manufacturer justify the ecosystem?
They always have a defense.
Alex brings up Meta's official response to the situation, quoting their defense simply as, "It's in the terms of service."
That is their operational shield.
Just pointing to the paperwork.
They are leaning entirely on the legal architecture of the end-user license agreement that users consent to when they initialize the product.
So what does this all mean?
It means they're covered legally.
Because we really need to analyze the implications of using that specific corporate defense in this context. There is a massive structural disconnect between the legal reality of a terms of service agreement and the lived physical reality of ambient hardware.
It's like two different worlds.
Alex immediately categorizes their response as classic corporate speak.
He recognizes it for what it is.
A boilerplate legal defense designed to insulate the company from liability rather than a genuine engagement with the architectural flaws of the product.
Exactly. They are applying a software-era consent model to a hardware-era surveillance problem.
It is perfectly said. And Sarah cuts right to the practical reality of that defense.
What does she say?
She responds with, "Right, the terms of service that nobody reads."
And she is completely right.
Now, we all know this. Tech-savvy consumers are fully aware of consent fatigue.
It's a known phenomenon.
No one is sitting down to parse through dozens of pages of legal jargon before putting on a pair of sunglasses to go to the park.
You just click agree and move on.
But companies weaponize that exact fatigue by burying the reality of human-in-the-loop data review deep within a legal document. They achieve plausible deniability.
They can point to it and say, "We warned you."
They can claim informed consent was given for a user's bathroom habits to be viewed by a contractor in Nairobi simply because the user clicked agree during the Bluetooth pairing process.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the source material leaves us with a devastating synthesis of the problem.
It really does.
Sarah summarizes the true functional reality of adopting this technology. She concludes that by wearing these devices with the live AI active, You are essentially live streaming your life to a stranger who is under strict orders not to look away.
Live streaming your life to a stranger who is under strict orders not to look away.
It's chilling.
That phrasing is incredibly heavy because it highlights the systemic, intentional nature of the process.
It's a feature, not a bug.
It's not an accidental glimpse by a passerby. It is a formalized workflow.
Right.
It's someone's assigned job to watch, analyze, and extract value from your raw, unfiltered life.
And Sarah's final assessment of the situation perfectly encapsulates the tension we've been discussing.
The ultimate invasion of privacy, sold as a fashion accessory.
It is a brilliant juxtaposition.
It sums it up perfectly.
The conversation takes us from the confident, stylish illusion of the Top Gun aesthetic all the way down to the deeply unsettling reality of unknowingly broadcasting your most private, vulnerable moments to a captive human audience.
It perfectly frames the hidden cost of frictionless technology.
You pay for the convenience with your privacy.
It absolutely forces you to reevaluate your relationship with the hardware you carry.
I know I'm looking at my devices differently now.
Me too. To summarize the key takeaways from our deep dive today, the dialogue between Alex and Sarah highlights a present and actively expanding vulnerability in consumer tech.
We really unpacked a lot here.
We analyzed the false sense of security regarding how AI training works and how the myth of the automated supercomputer obscures the vast human workforce, like those detailed in the Sama report, who are manually viewing intimate user data.
The human element is what changes everything.
We explore the UX failure of ambient tech, where simply forgetting to disable a feature like Live AI transforms a user into an unwitting broadcaster.
Just by forgetting to push a button.
And finally, we looked at the fundamental inadequacy of terms of service agreements when they are weaponized to justify what is, at its core, the ultimate invasion of privacy.
The transition from software to wearable hardware changes the rules of engagement entirely.
It really does.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final analytical thought to consider, building on everything we have drawn from their conversation today.
Let's hear it.
If our most intimate, unscripted moments are now the necessary raw material required to teach artificial intelligence how to navigate the human world, at what point does everyday life stop being something we simply experience and start being something we're unknowingly broadcasting as an operational product?
That is a fundamental question about the future of our digital infrastructure,
It's something we all need to think about.
and one we're all going to have to navigate very soon. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a great conversation.
We hope it provided you with a new framework for looking at the devices you use. And as always, we invite you to keep questioning the architecture of the technology around you.